Okay, welcome today. I'm so pleased to be talking with Isik, who is one of our very successful authors. She has just published her book in Turkey. She has completed it, and it's really having a huge impact on everything in her world right now. Welcome, Isik. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you for having me here.
Can you tell us a little bit about your book? What's it about? Who's it help? And we'll get into the process of it fairly shortly.
Okay. It's about having high performance teams, how you can keep them. It's easy to find them perhaps, but it's not easy to keep them. So it's the book gives ideas to business owners, team leaders, what they should have in order to keep these high performance teams all together and in a continuous way.
Excellent. So I've just received a couple of copies of your book. Have you got any with you there that you can show us?
Let me bring one. Here it is. Yes.
There it is. So what's the title? Now, obviously you've written that in Turkish, which is your native language.
Yes.
And one of the things about working together is when we first started, I believe you attempted to write in English first of all, but realized that your concepts wouldn't translate to your local market as well if you wrote it in English. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience of that and your thinking and how that evolved?
At the beginning, I tried to do it in English, but then I found out that it's very difficult for me to explain my own experiences, not the technical part, but my own. There are some experiences, some things that I lived myself. So in my own language, it's more easy and smooth and gives a different feeling. So I thought, and I'm a business coach in Turkey, so why I'm writing in English? It's then, if it's necessary, we can translate it later. So I turned to Turkish immediately. You know, at the end of this book, everybody is telling me that the parts that you're telling yourself is the best parts. They are very easy to read and interesting. So I'm happy to turn it to Turkish. In English, it will not be like this.
So if you had attempted to tell your stories in English, it wouldn't have had the same personal characteristics, the personal flavor.
Perhaps it's because of my English. I'm not the expert on it. And in my own experiences, there is a big feeling. And in your own language, it's easier to give it. It's easier to write it. So I think it's better to write in own language.
I guess when you're trying, so what you're saying is, when you're trying to explain a fairly deep emotional story, and you're trying to connect with your audience by telling stories and relating your own stories, you found it so much easier to do in your own native language.
Yes, I think so. Even during the book process, I was thinking in English a lot because we are working together and we are creating many different ideas. And sometimes it was difficult to find the correct words in Turkish after we thought about them. But still, it gave me confidence to explain myself easily. So it helped a lot to write the book.
And I love what you were saying just a moment ago, that the parts of the book that you're getting very positive feedback on from readers is actually your personal stories and your personal experience.
Yeah, it's very surprising for me. You know, at the very beginning, I started because of my stories, because I thought during my own business, I found out that the stories of the employees are still same as mine after 30 years because this is the 50th year of my business, and I had some stories that gives you some pain that it shouldn't be like this. The employer shouldn't do that to me, or I shouldn't find myself in that situation. But it's still same around. So I thought I should I should tell my stories in order to give some idea, my bad stories, in order to give some idea to the both business owners, team leaders, and actually it's the reason that I started the book. But in the middle of the book, I thought it's too much or it's too less to explain everything just from me. But when we came to at the end of the book, the feedback comes that the best parts are your parts. It should be more. We liked it. We read these parts immediately. It was surprising, and
so that was quite a surprise to you, I know, because one of the strategies we spoke about bringing your ideas to life was to interview people that were significant leaders or business owners or celebrities in your own local area. And am I right in saying that you felt like interviewing those people would give your book a greater appeal?
Yes, I started to interview just because I was not confident about my experiences. I said they are not good enough, they are not much enough, so I need add something new. I interviewed, there are 10 people in the book. They are CEOs from very big companies, they are HR managers, some business owners, smaller business owners. So I interviewed them, I add them to the book, and during the interviews, I found out that they are telling the same things, and it gave me another confidence that I'm on the right way. Even one of them started to talk with a style that everything is because of human, he said. And my first chapter says only human. So I thought perhaps he read my book until the page that I prepared. It was a good experience as well, that from different parts of the business business people are telling the same thing, feeling the same thing. It gave me confidence.
And I particularly like that what you're saying is you had your own experiences that you wanted to talk about. Yeah. You wanted to borrow, if you like, some authority from these other business leaders to give your book credibility.
Yeah.
But in fact, the thing which your readers are connecting with most is your own personal stories and your own personal. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And it gives you confidence to have another book, perhaps.
Yes. So one of the big things, and I remember speaking to you specifically about this, was, are my ideas good enough for a book? You know, are the things that I'm going to write about, can they really become a book? And now I'm hearing you say on the other end, not only can they become a book, but actually your own experiences are what readers are finding most valuable. Was overcoming that, in English we call it imposter's syndrome, feeling like you're not good enough to write a book. Was overcoming that a real challenge for you? And how did you handle it?
I think two things helped me to handle this. One of them is after a while I started the book, I connected a HR manager friend, close friend, and I asked from her to help me to read what I wrote up that time and give some idea. In some chapters, I was completely blocked that what should I write in here. So even though we had only 2-3 times together and worked on the chapters, it gave me a confidence that, okay, it's not bad. Somebody is reading and telling you something good and helping you in any case. This is the first thing I think that pushed me to continue. Then the second thing was the interviews. When I started the interviews, I found out that they are telling the same things to me. And even I was a little bit disappointed because I started the interviews just to hear their experiences, but most of them prefer to tell the general idea, the technical idea about the subject instead of their experiences. And the idea, the technical thing that they were telling me was the same thing that I was writing. So, okay, I'm on the correct way from different business levels, manager levels, it's coming the same thing. And
so that I guess was a very good reinforcement that you were on the right track, that you were going down the right path.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, first of all, I'd like to you to tell us what the title of the book is. I realize that we haven't told our readers and listeners about the book. And how do you say the title in Turkish?
In Turkish, it is kaktüsler, dikenler ve çiçekler.
And what does that mean in English?
It's English, cactuses, thorns, and flowers.
Cactuses, thorns, and flowers. And what's that about? So what's the tagline on your book?
The tagline says, only the leaders can turn the potential to performance.
Right, so only the leaders can turn potential into performance.
Yeah. And you know, until the last chapter of the book, the name was not there. I was no idea what it will be. And in the last chapter, I found out that normally I like cactuses a lot. In home, in the office, everywhere I had lots of them. And I love that they have flowers from time to time. And if somebody asks me to explain yourself in a different way, I say I'm a cactus.
Right. So if you were to use explaining yourself as an analogy, you'd say, I'm like a cactus.
Yeah, I'm like a cactus because I can live in any condition. I can survive in any condition. I have my own energy and enthusiasm in my side, like cactuses have water there inside, and I know I have some thorns to keep me alive and safe from the outside, and from sometimes even they are not working correct. But if I can manage them correctly, I can have flowers. This is one of my flowers. At the end of the book, I was just remembered that I had a very nice cactus at home, which didn't give any flower for 6 years. And then we changed home, we changed its place, and one day it had a lot of flowers. Unbelievable how nice they are. I never seen such a thing before. I explained this story in the end of the book, and I said it's the business owners are like cactuses as well. If they find out what they have as thorns, and if they manage them correctly, they can have flowers. And one of the flowers is the performance of the employees as well. So they should work on it.
That's a lovely story, and I particularly like that cactuses are something you are interested in, and that you've managed to bring your own interests into the storytelling of the book. And I think that's a really important thing, isn't it? Because I think you were thinking along this way when we first met, that there's a right way and a wrong way to write a book. But of course, as you've learned and as you've written your book, you've discovered your own way and bringing your own ideas that's made it so successful for you.
Yeah, it's really very interesting, and I don't know the correct words English, but gives you a great feeling. But because when you find your own analogy, your own
Your
feeling,
own voice, I call it, when you find your own voice. Yeah.
yes, it helps you in every place. For example, after I finished the book, I was in the conference of Engage and Grow, and all my presentation was around a cactus. And it was great until I write this chapter. I was not aware of what would I tell there. But then everything changed, and now I will have some new appointments as a speaker, and I know how to give my speech because now I have I have my own voice.
Yes.
It helps me to do things easily. So it's really great to find it.
Now, I want to touch on this point quickly because your book has only been published for less than a month.
Yeah.
You know, only a few weeks, but already you've got some really great business opportunities that have come from the book. Just briefly tell us about that.
It's interesting that when I told that I will have the book in a short time, a few people said they want to take me to some associations as a speaker, and they waited for the book. They didn't do it immediately. They waited for the book. The very first day of the book, I was at an association for accountant association. I talked to 50 people. I signed the book. It was a nice day as the first day. And I got 2 businesses from there. I now have one Engage and Grow, one business coaching, new business, just because of the book. And
right. So you, on the very first day that the book launched, you had a speaking engagement, you spoke, and 2 businesses said, "We'd like to work with you."
yes, we already signed and starting. And
let me just ask about that. Are they businesses that you would have really liked to have worked with before you had a book, but you found difficult to get to?
It was difficult for me to reach them. Now they reach me. It's the interesting thing is that people know me before, now believe me more, it seems. So
so people may have known you before and the work you do, but because you've got a book and because you've spoken about it and they can get to know you, now the roles are reversed. They're chasing you.
Exactly. And
how does that feel? That must feel pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and sometimes it gives me a big shock. Wow, these people are choosing me now. I'm not choosing them, they are choosing me now. And a few friends, close friends, they started to take me to their own customers to get business for me. Even yesterday, I went to visit a friend for lunch, and she took me to his boss, and it's a big company, and most probably we will have a business there as well. They requested to get an offer how we can work together. And another friend sent me to another big company, insurance company. She said they have a book club, you can have some deals there. When I visit them for their book club, we had 2 things. One of them is 8th of March is Women's Day. So I will have a speech there for their women workers. And at the same meeting, I was not expecting, HR manager came and she said, how we can work together. If I try to get an appointment from her myself, most probably before book, it will be very difficult. But this time...
It's almost an automatic no. If you just rang to say, can I talk to you about how we can work together? They would be, I'm too busy to talk about that. But having seen your book, and even before they've even heard you, they're now saying, so how could we work together?
Yeah. No, they feel me as an authority, it seems. So it's
right. So they're seeing, because you've got the book and you are also, you know, obviously communicating about the ideas in the book to them, they see you completely differently. They see you as an authority.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How does that elevate you in your business marketplace? Does that lift you a bit above everybody else, your competitors and the people who are providing consulting services to businesses?
I think so. It's not, you are not at the top, but you are a little bit ahead of most of them now. You have something, your own ideas. You have something to work on it, talk on it. So it's interesting that all the looks, the things that they talk to me, the things they ask to me are changing. And I think another aspect of this is that all this gives you another confidence, so you also act differently, more confidently.
So it's an upward spiral. They talk to you differently,
Yeah.
and because you're talking about your own ideas, you respond a little bit differently, and so your confidence goes up and up and up and up. I suspect it's a virtuous cycle, we call it, a cycle that improves and improves. That's a great insight. I wanted to ask you about, apart from having the book now and talking to people, as you were writing the book, were you finding that even before you'd printed the book, you were growing and seeing new opportunities because you were in the process of writing the book?
You know, my last 2 pages just talks about that. It says, this is a journey just for me, and the book is not important just because it will sell more. It already finished its mission because I learned a lot during this journey. I read a lot. I learned how to get films, how to edit films, how to get new appointments. I experienced many new things. So the journey, even you don't have anything at the end. If I couldn't manage to have a printed book at the end, the journey gave me a big new information, confidence, vision. So it's an amazing time. It was an amazing time. It was not easy, but I liked.
Well, we're going to talk about that now, actually, because I think what you're articulating is something that I get to hear a lot, is that people don't realize how much of a personal development journey you're going to go on when you write a book, because you have to think about your own ideas and how you communicate them. As you've said, you have to read new material and research and connect with new people, learn new skills. In writing the book, am I right in saying that you went a fairly traditional way, that you like to sit down at a typewriter and write the words, and then you added to that the interviews that you did? Is that how you went about writing your book?
I didn't get this question.
So did you type? You know, did you sit at a keyboard and type your book, or did you speak it into a microphone and then have it transcribed?
I had 2 things. For my own part, I just typed them. I tried a few times to take my voice, but it was too difficult for me. I didn't like it. The feeling was not the same to hear yourself. So I preferred to write it. I was on Saturday. Actually, I wrote the book on Saturdays because during the week it was not possible. So on Saturdays, until the noontime, I was just reading, exploring everything. And in the afternoon, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, I was just typing. But when I came to the videos, the videos that I took, After I
The
get the video,
interviews, that's the interviews that you did with the
yeah,
business
the
leaders?
interviews, I filmed them, I take video for them, and I used some programs to convert the sound to the writing.
Yep.
Then I just check them, whether it's correct or not. And then we just get some summaries from these videos for the book. And you know, we also have video in the book. We have QR codes in the books.
Right. Tell me a little bit about, so at the end of each interview, which the interviews illustrate and bring to life the idea that you're talking about. Is that correct? So if you're talking about feedback with employees, you might interview someone who's had success at that, and that finishes out the chapter. And then you've got the QR code. What does that link to?
In the book, for example, this one 3 pages summary of the interview, but it's almost 15 minutes interview. Actually, I had longer videos, but I kept them around 5 to 20 minutes videos. I edited them, and I thought it's a pity that not to use them. So I prepared a QR code. When you read with the application QR code, it takes you to the video, original video on the YouTube. And you can listen to the person directly in a longer period. And on the videos, I put a small cup on the corner of the video from the book cover. So it says that this video is because of this book. You catch it.
I think that's a fantastic way to link your readers to you, the business, the person, because they can go, oh, I want to know more about that. Look at the video. But then, of course, those videos could direct them to your website, to contact you, to really extend the effectiveness of your book.
Yeah, it's a great marketing material, actually, because we are using them on social media periodically. And even the people who don't have an idea that I have a book, when they see the video, they found out that there's a book behind these videos. And another good part of this, having these videos is, I found out that I can get appointment easily for my book to have some video from the people.
Sorry, you can get a what? I just didn't hear that.
Appointment. In order to get, when I said I need an appointment for my book for interview, they gave it easily. Then I decided to have more videos, although I finished the book. Starting by March, every month, 1 or 2 new video I will have and publish. So it will connect to my book again. The book will be on the shelf because of this, on the social media because of this new video. We will keep it alive.
That's a great strategy, because I guess what you're saying is a business leader is likely to give you an interview if you're interviewing them for a book project or something like that, much more than if you're asking for a sales appointment.
Yeah.
So not only are these future videos going to link back to the book and keep the book alive, but they connect you to a broader audience. They connect you to other leaders. And I guess with those new leaders, you can now give them a copy of the book and say, this is what I've done. I'm doing interviews for future work, and it extends your connection.
And you know, when you visit them for this video appointment, in whatever it is, you have time to explain what are you doing, so they know what's your business.
It's the ultimate sales call in a way, isn't it? Because they're curious about, you know, what your business is and how you help people. And one of the really cool things that we encourage you to do in writing your book is create models. And you've created a particularly good model around your ideas. Mm-hmm. You've used that model to help people understand, to traffic light their own teams and for them to self-assess their own team. Green, this aspect is really good. Orange, it's, you know, it's okay, but it could be better. And red, no, we haven't even begun to work that. Using that model in the book and presenting to your clients, have you found that an effective strategy to explain your ideas and your book?
Yeah, having this model at the very first helped myself to write the book, because we created this model at the very first session, and it was very surprising for me that I have such ideas and to see them all together in a model. And you know, I got two main feedback about book. One of them, as I said before, is your stories are very powerful and very nice to hear them. And the second one, they are saying that you have a very powerful model, and it helps to read the book a lot. So it's good to have it, and I like it. And
have you got a picture of your model there? Can you show us that model? Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, let me touch on that. So the very first session we did together is what we call the game plan session, where you say, yes, okay, I want to write a book, probably with a bit of fear about how that's going to work. And then we do the game plan session where we try and bring all your ideas into a model that helps you write the book. Can you tell us what your experience of that session is like?
At the beginning of the session, I just had an idea that I have some experiences, and all these experiences tells that the business owners should be aware of them, that some things are missing when they manage the people. So, and I didn't know how to explain them. When we were talking with you with your questions, I found out that all these things have some basement, so I can create on it. And you help me.
They have a link to all of them, don't they?
And you help me in a very smooth way that I can find what I want to say. And I was really shocked at the end of this 1 hour that I have a model, I have ideas, and even the names of the chapters are ready. And you know, I explained it to my partner, to my few close friends, not to everybody, that I started such a thing. They look at me a little bit suspicious. They didn't believe in that we created in an hour. But it was really amazing, and gives a big courage to continue, because it was in front of me that what I was trying to do. On the way, this model helped me to create the book, but it's interesting that when you start to write, you start to think deeply, and then in a point, the model couldn't be enough. I said, something is missing in this model, and I couldn't find a way to put it in it. Then I started to work to change the model. The main thing is same, but the figures, the types of is changed, and I had, you see, circles. There is a circle which says communication. It was everywhere, so I couldn't find a way for it to use it for a long time. Then I said, it's a circle that covers everything.
Yep.
So the model changed.
So you evolved. So you took the original model and you evolved it to make it your own.
Yeah. And then it's the point that everything goes more easily.
So that was that unblocked any blockages, and it flowed much more easily.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you start with the model, and I guess what you're describing is wonderful clarity and confidence that I know what I'm writing about, and I know that I have good information to write about. But of course, then the hard stuff starts, which is, you know, booking your interviews and doing the writing. And I know that you found time quite challenging. So you ended up blocking out your Saturdays, and every time we saw you on a live coaching call, you looked like you were in some exotic coffee shop somewhere in beautiful, beautiful Turkey. You know, Turkey is just one of my favorite places in the whole world. Tell us about writing the book and you know, obviously the time challenges and what rhythm you found to get that book completed.
You know, I live in Istanbul, and it's a big city, and it's an exhausting city for the citizens, not for the visitors. And during the day, I have lots of visits in order to create business. And the traffic is bad. From one place to another, it's difficult to reach, and all these things. Among all these things, it's difficult to sit down and write during the week. So I said, okay, during the week I will not do anything, only on Saturdays. And you know, it was difficult for me to, okay, I have 1 hour, let's write some book. It's not easy. That's just not my style. No, I have to concentrate. I don't want to think anything else. No time limits. Then I can create something. So I decided to write it on Saturdays. But I didn't want to miss any call with you, because it was the times that I get courage, new ideas, concentrating again about the details. So I was trying to reach you in anywhere. Sometimes I sit down at the beginning of a metro and outside and talk with you. Sometimes in a cafe. But it was good.
I think we even had you in the back of a taxi one time.
Yes, yes.
Cool. And what you're referring to, of course, is the regular live coaching calls where we get all the authors together.
Yeah.
And I know in your book you've said that community, that the whole community. Obviously, I've got content that I want to teach you, but it's I get the impression that you drew enormous courage and strength from everybody and the input of everybody in the group.
Yes, because in each time somebody was telling something new. Scott brought some new models, and then he brought his book. Another one talked about the seminars after the book. So new ideas. Even during this period, I reached a Turkish friend, just published a book. I asked him his experiences. And for example, this QR code idea came from him because he wrote a book very big. So he decided to cut off some of the part of it and put them in the internet with QR code. Then I said, okay, this is a good idea for videos. Instead of writing, I put some videos with QR code. So, you know, in being interaction with different writers, always give you some time to think again, to hear different stories from different, even they were from different markets. They were writing about different things, but it helped me to rethink.
I guess it's a creative,
yeah, that's the word,
collection of people, isn't it? So it inspires new ideas, and maybe they're using their ideas in a completely different way or a different market, but you know, you can say, oh, I could make that idea work in my book.
Yeah, it's like a brainstorming period. When they tell something, you remember something else, you think something else. So it was very helpful. And you know, even now from time to time, I want to be inside again in order to listen what's going on there and get some new ideas.
And I love that we could, you know, just to demonstrate to everybody that the only limits are the limits you put on yourself. We've had Isik join us from actually all over Turkey, because I know you were traveling around Turkey a little bit. So we've had you in the back of a cab and going through the back streets of Istanbul, and I think we've had you in coffee shops down at the coast and all sorts of places. You've just jumped on your phone and listened in when you could and contributed when you could. So it's a wonderful, wonderful achievement to be able to have phoned in and joined us from anywhere in the world.
it was one of the best journeys for me during my life, that having book club and to have something at the end. And you know, if I was alone, it was not. This will not be the result, because I found myself a little bit responsible to everybody else that helped me, and the feeling that they did what I can do as well. So it was good. It was good to have together.
Yeah, the community, I really appreciate what you're saying there, that if you were to do the book yourself, it would be a different experience and a different product. Because obviously in the program, you know, I've got lots of templates and lots of shortcuts and things like that to help you. But I think there's so much power in the people within the group, whether we're asking questions on Facebook or whether we're doing that in live video sessions. I agree that there's a power in the community, that a creative collective that just inspires you on further.
Yeah, sometimes somebody asks a question and you found out that you didn't think about it, but it's very useful to listen the answer of this question. So it was really powerful.
And I know there's been several times when someone else has asked a question and you've actually had the answer.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was interesting. And sometimes I found out that I have the answer and I'm not aware of it. So that's the power of the group. They force you to find out what you have. They force you to think deeply, and when you share it, it gives you another power. I believe in that. The only thinking is not enough. When you start to talk about your things, you have to choose some of them, and when you choose, it becomes better, or you can find out that it's the correct one or the wrong one. So it helps you to grow. So always sharing is always a good way of learning and growing, I think.
I have the same experience. It's until I have to articulate an idea, till I have to simplify it and tell a story that brings it to life and hopefully then lives in the mind of my readers and my students, that's when you really get to be creative about how you do that. And of course it brings you enormous confidence, but it's almost the refining of the idea.
Yeah. And I love to say that you have really very nice, very simple, very helpful tools to help me read, write, create. So it was really amazing to reach all of these through you.
Excellent. Now let's finish up by talking about how you actually had the book published. In Australia and New Zealand and America and England, I tend to encourage people to self-publish, but in Turkey, that's not quite how it works. So can you tell us a little bit about, once you had the script, how you actually got it turned into a book, how you found a publisher and what that experience was like?
In Turkey, I was not aware of that we can be a self-publisher. So I asked a friend, do you know any friends having a publisher? And we found somebody and we visited her. We talked, we sent the first copy. And she came back and said, okay, we can publish it, but you have to pay that much. And it was too much for me, and it was a small publisher. I said, okay, I will check around. And I started to choose. First I visit another publisher, a friend publisher, just publish children books. I got some idea from her. What should I do? How can I do? She said, you can publish it yourself, and we can help you to find the correct places, but you cannot distribute it. easily. And in Turkey, I don't believe in that. Being only online one is not enough. They should see you. And
they need to be in bookstores. They need to be real, don't they?
Yeah. Even it's same for me. And I chose 4 or 5 different publishers who publish mostly business books. And I tried to reach them. Some of them I just go myself and said, okay, I was just passing here and come to visit you. Here I am. I have such a book. The problem it was a very bad period for Turkey, a crisis, economical crisis, and nobody want to publish anything nowadays because the papers are very expensive. There is a big problem. So some of them said you should wait a few more weeks, more months in order to have an idea about it. But I don't like to wait. So I continue a few of them and I collected an idea, what can I do? What will be the cost? And this publisher actually was a friend in a network. I am a member of a women network. It's a PWN, Professional Women Network, mostly European one. And this lady published mostly business books, Turkish writers, and she does something else. She goes to companies, big companies, and tells if you buy 200, 300 books, my writer will come to you as a speaker, free. So it's a good way for her, it's a good way to sell books. For a writer, it's a good way to announce herself to the company and explain what she does in general.
And as you mentioned, every time you've done that so far, someone has said, how can we work together?
Yeah.
So it's a good marketing strategy for your business as well as selling books.
So I decided to continue with her. Actually, I paid for the first 1,000 units publishing. Then if you continue, she will do everything. And
so am I right in saying that, and this is the way it works in Australia as well, if you go with a publisher, they ask you to pay, a small amount. In Australia, it's somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000, which is basically setup costs. And then they organise the distribution and the printing and all that sort of stuff. And then you share a percentage of the sale of any books with them until it gets to 1,000 books or 2,000 or 3,000, and then the percentages change. Is that how it worked for you?
Well, normally, I'm sure if I was a big writer after 5 books, 4 books, whatever it is, they were not requesting any money from me for the first publishing. But this is not the situation. So at the
we're not writing the Harry Potter series. This is our first book.
Yeah. For the first publishing, I paid all publishing cost. And in order to cut down it, in order to pay less, I said, I don't want any money for the first 1,000 units because it's a 10-15% something. And when you collect them, it's nothing. And you can take this money only 6-8 months later. So it's not earning money. Instead of waiting for this money, I said, discount this from the first payment. I can pay less and you can keep the all money for yourself for the first 1,000 units. But she is responsible for all distribution and she is working with the very big bookstores. Now, whenever I go around, I visit all these bookstores and controlling my books on the shelf. And besides not only bookstores, she put everything on all online sites as well. Even in Amazon Turkey, I have my book. So
that must be pretty amazing to see your book, which was just an idea in your head not that long ago, to see it in bookstores, on Amazon, and really this year, the year ahead of you, to be potentially doing keynote speaking for some fairly large businesses.
Yeah, it's less than 1 month that the book published, and I already have 3 appointments for as a speaker. So
Right. Yeah. So you've already got 3 speaking engagements.
yeah.
I guess one of the things that I really have always emphasized with you is that it's less about selling the book and making money from the sale of the book, and it's more about business through the book. And so, you know, taking a percentage of the first 1,000 books really doesn't add up to much. But would I be right in saying that even though you've only got that first 1,000 books, that it's probably hardly sold yet, you've probably got, you know, a lot more money from businesses that have come to you to use your services already.
It's already started, as I told. Now I earned more money than that I spent for the book. In 1 month.
That's pretty good within the first month of publishing your book. And a lot of that revenue will be ongoing revenue, won't it? When you've got clients working with you, they work with you for, you know, quite a long period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's round up. I guess if you knew back at the beginning of the process what you know now, what advice would you give yourself? What would you tell yourself when you were beginning?
Oh, good question. First one is focus more and finish it in a shorter time, because it's possible. I lost some...
And you get these results quicker, I guess.
Yeah, that's why. Because I lost some time just because of my anxiety, my feeling that it's not good enough. I don't have time, it's not going well. That's the reason that I spend a lot of time.
And I think that would be a pretty normal, my experience is that's a very common experience. People are worried about it and you know, having that imposter syndrome and is it good enough? But I love that advice. So your first thought is just
besides,
put that aside and write.
Yeah, right. And it's sure this period helped me to find videos, for example. The video idea was not at the beginning. I created this idea just because I was in such a feeling that it's not going on. So it's also another experience, but still...
It's productive. So sometimes some of that worry and anxiety is actually part of the creative process.
Yeah. For example, if I write a new book, I know what I will do. I will never feel or I will never try to create something immediately. Let's say I will have a period, 6 months, 3 months, just to read and generate the idea. But then when I start to writing, it should be only 1 month. In a month, you can write it if you are ready, mindfully. You can write it in a month. So next time I will have a different way for it.
So it sounds like the next book's going to come quicker. A bit of research, a bit of preparation, a bit of thought and planning, and then 1 month of just, in Australia we say, going hard and writing.
Yeah. And it's interesting that after you finish it, you start to think that I should add this one, I should say that one. So perhaps I can be more relaxed instead of being anxious that what will I write in this chapter. Just be yourself. I think it will be more easier. And
so being trusting in your own stories and trusting in yourself is actually something you next book would do more of.
The feedback that I got, that in some place, even I have a friend that showed me, give me the book back like this. Can you see?
Yes.
These are the comments. Some of them are good comments. Some of them are saying that at that point you should have your own story. it's not there. It should be there. So it was a good one.
So you're already getting editorial feedback about how you can improve it.
Yeah,
And I guess really what's in the next book, because most people come to me and they want to write the book, you know, that's the one and only book they're going to write. But I suspect you've had a real change about that. It's not the book, it's not the one book, it's actually the beginning of a much larger project.
yeah. The second comment that I can advise that I can say, it's not the book. It's a book, just a book. Write a book, not the book, because the book is most probably never will be ready. So
It won't ever be perfect, the perfect book. Just write a book.
yeah, a book is the correct way to start it, and it's good to start because it's just a start, so we can continue with new ones.
Well, Isik, it's been a joy not only to have you on the book program, but for you to share your thoughts and your ideas and your experiences today. And as we've said many times, I hope it's going to be an ongoing connection and an excuse for me to come and visit in Turkey, because Istanbul is absolutely one of my favorite cities to visit. So
I love to see
look
you.
forward to your journey ahead. Thank you so much for being a part of our program.
I thank you to help me, that you helped me to create this result. It's a big pleasure for me that announce you that you are my teacher on this journey, and I really learned a lot from you. Thank you.
My pleasure.